Welcome back to another Jazz basketball breakdown. Got Sean back. He is alive.
I was there the whole time, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
Tonight was a fun game. So I was at the game tonight, and it was the Jazz crowd tonight was awesome.
That's what your dad and I kept saying as we were watching the game. Like, man, this would be a fun one to be at.
It was loud. Like you compared this to the Thunder game that I went to a couple weeks ago. Similar situation, right? Goes down to the very last, play basically, and it was way louder tonight than it was against the Thunder. So
You probably couldn't see much. You were way up in the upper bowl.
yeah, I was super high up. Row 12 at exactly half court. It was pretty nice.
That sounds pretty high.
It was pretty nice. Got a nice view of everything. Caught a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's what you said.
But kind of a roller coaster of a game.
When we gave Tyrese Maxey that first wide open 3-pointer, I mean, we commented back and forth here watching it, but like, ooh, as he started rolling, be like, man, that first one, we just kind of gave him time to set his feet and put it in. He sees that first bucket go in. Credit to the youngster, career high, 51. You can tell why the 76ers were like, yeah, we're cool with Harden leaving.
Yeah,
what a stud. Got his all-star position today. I don't know if you saw this in a post-game interview. He mentioned that his ankle was hurting. He was thinking about not playing today.
I had heard everything I had heard was he was not playing today, and then I get there and he's warming up, and I was like, oh, I guess Maxey is playing.
And to come out, and I mean, at this point in the season, everybody's got stuff, right? You're dinged up and stuff's going on, but the pulls on your body of a professional athlete, for him to be able to come out and do that, and he's not just like a big guy lean on you throwing some jump hooks. He's a speed to the bucket, a lot of physicality on the ground, a lot, right? How many times did you see him on the ground? And to pull that off, even
played 40 minutes,
even when normally he probably wouldn't have played, but Embiid was out. They were on a 4-game losing skid. He stepped up like a pro, like a stud. Pulled it off. Congrats, man, Tyrese. That's a hell of a player.
Yep. Speaking of all-stars, Markkanen did not get an all-star position. I truthfully thought he should have made it over Towns. Everyone else makes sense to me over him.
And we talked about it on the show several times of with our slow start, because his numbers are pretty similar to last year.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the categories are a little improved, but did we start off the season kind of with a perception of, oh, he's a little bit down this year?
Yeah.
And then, because I mean, he's really been ramping it up lately. Showed his ability tonight. When we needed it a ton. Had 14 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, he checked in like under 7 minutes. So it was, I mean, came in and did what big players, what stars are supposed to do for the limited touches we gave him.
I was going to say, it shouldn't have taken us to the freaking fourth quarter to give this dude the ball. I mean, he ended, I believe, 10 of 15 tonight.
Right.
And when your star has that kind of efficiency, why in the hell does he not have the ball?
Just we keep saying it, man. We keep asking over and over.
He had, 28 and 10?
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been so much more, right? Yeah. It just feels like we go through such long stretches of him on the court, never seeing the ball.
And we ran some actions right there, kind of free throw line high, where Springer, who's a physical, strong defender, a guard, was pushing on him and leading on him. And he, just rises up over him and hits the shot. And how many times in a row could we force that action?
Well, tonight there's a play that's a perfect example where we talk about, even if he's covered, just throwing the ball. They finally throw in the ball, and Oubre's on him. Oubre's literally grabbing him, and he just catches it. They call a foul early, so he doesn't get the continuation, but he just catches it, turns, and dunks it. And it was just like, we could do that over and over again.
If
he had the same usage, like rate of the amount of times we went through him or anything like that as Sexton and Clarkson, his numbers would be insane.
He could easily, low end, easily 30 a game average.
Yeah.
Easily. Just on a few more shots a game, especially if we were intentional about it and had the players around him that kind of understood their role. Once again, we hear about Will Hardy and letting his kids explore their superpowers. And I've seen some of those superhero camps. I don't know. Kind of reminds me sometimes of how the Jazz play. I have a cape. I'm a superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be a role player. You should understand your role.
Yeah. And what's frustrating too is like, especially on a night like tonight, Markkanen struggled the past couple nights. Struggled with his shot, struggled with efficiency. Tonight he's playing much better. And on a night where he just got, in a lot of people's eyes, snubbed from the All-Star game, you allow him to go freaking send a message, right? You allow your star that. He deserves that. And then he just really doesn't touch the ball. And then he subs in the fourth quarter and we're down and we need something to go. And he just like, bang, bang. The joke was like, my buddy I'm at the game with, I kept saying like, man, we need to get freaking Markkanen the ball. Like he's pretty good. We should give that guy the ball. And he comes in, bang, 3-pointer. Like we should probably give that guy the ball. Next possession, bang. We should probably get the ball. It was like 5 possessions in a row, just boom, boom, boom. My buddy turns to me and goes, we should probably get him the ball because he doesn't watch many games throughout the season. And it was just like he goes on this stretch of just nonstop, like 5-6 possessions in a row. No one can stop him doing whatever he wants.
And then somebody stopped him.
And then just doesn't see the ball again.
Wearing a Jazz uniform.
Yeah, like, and as Sexton and Clarkson come in together, and that's who we close with, and Sexton and Clarkson touch the ball every possession.
Yeah. which kind of also segues into the major question that I had is, as I'm seeing, Chris Dunn has a tough assignment tonight. And Tyrese Maxey's going off, getting his points in the first half. Dunn comes out there and really takes the challenge third quarter. Does some amazing things, has some great plays. And to me, I'm saying, all right, it makes sense for us to match minutes. Anytime, Tyrese is on the court, we have Chris Dunn on the court. That would make sense, maybe a little bit of a spell. I did like them having Ochai on him a little bit and having Fontecchio, give him some different looks. You got to do that, right? But Dunn doesn't see the court
at all
until 5 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, to come in for like a defensive rebound.
Yeah, that's insane.
That
is insane.
It blows me away. And it comes back down, we've discussed it several times. We lean so heavily on wanting to run offense-heavy lineups to the point of down the stretch, we need stops. We don't have like any defensive players on the court. We're just running all offense. Collins, not a good defensive player. He's solid man-to-man. That's about it. Markkanen, solid defender. Fontecchio is shown to be a very good defender. And then Sexton, he's just undersized, outmatched. Clarkson, not a good defender. And so it's just like, who's supposed to get a stop in this lineup? Because it's great if we can score. Doesn't mean anything if we cannot stop them down the stretch at all. And there really wasn't anyone in that lineup who can just straight up by themselves go freaking get a stop for us. Like, I need you to go get me the ball. Go can get the ball. There's no one on the court that could, at the time, do that.
And we tried to go with a box and one several times down the stretch, fourth quarter. We stymied Tyrese Maxey when we played them in Philadelphia with a box and one. They weren't really ready for it.
Yeah.
They had a little time to prepare this time, and you saw how easily it can be shredded. How many wide open threes did Oubre get on that left
and you
wing three?
You can't let Kelly Oubre shoot set shots. And
it's bucket after bucket. But my whole point is that shows you why the gimmicky zones, when a team has a day to prepare for it and they know it's coming in the NBA, they'll get you. If they have an entire playoff series, they will shred you.
Right.
It'll be death immediately. So that kind of thing, you have to really man up and go man and have strong defenders. That's why Chris Dunn should have been playing down the stretch.
Even my buddy who doesn't watch a whole lot of basketball, doesn't watch a whole lot of Jazz, tonight we go to first half, go to a zone when our bench unit is in, and he's like, Are they in a zone? Like, yeah, like this sucks. I'm like, yeah. And it was like it was like a 1-1-3 zone, and it was, hey, Keontae George, Olynyk, and Clarkson, you guys all suck at defense, so you're just gonna kind of stand where you're at. Agbaji, go guard everyone.
He's gonna go side,
and get them to go to the rim, and then just hope Kessler can block it.
Yep.
That was the defensive strategy. Agbaji, sprint and guard 5 guys, make them go to Kessler, and then Kessler will defend at the rim. Wild. It is wild to me.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been in those situations of, playing high school level or whatever it is. You never get that open of looks in the zone, even in high school, man. For us running this gimmicky thing to make sure that our offensive players can be on the court is, how many times do you see just a little gentle pass in the middle? Oh, nobody's around. Little floater. Bucket.
Dude, and here's the problem with that kind of zone. Keontae's up top, and Ogbaji's kind of floating, right? Okay, so you send it here. Ogbaji has to sprint here. All it is high post, elbow 3. Whenever you want. And they got it. Whenever they wanted.
Yeah, the amount of open threes that they got, pretty rough. We missed a large number of threes ourselves. Seemed like Fontecchio had a bunch of open threes that
he definitely struggled with his shot tonight.
He was missing on. Interesting. But I still can't get over the Chris Dunn not playing thing. I still can't get over it.
Yeah, it didn't make a lot. I felt like the lineup we ran down the stretch didn't make a lot of sense. It really didn't. And once again, we are running heavily veteran lineups in these moments, like we're a team that's trying to go compete and win as many games as possible, no matter what, even if it costs development on your young players. It is super frustrating. It should not be that way. Dunn should be playing in the second quarter and fourth quarter. It shouldn't be, you're super important. You have to be on the court. You play 6 minutes at the start of each half. Don't ever touch the court again. Keontae George, super important to our development. We believe in you as the future of this team. You're going to come in a little stretch, and that's it. But Sexton's going to start the game, come out for like 5 minutes maybe, and then come back in for the final 8-9 minutes of the half, each half. Clarkson's going to start in the game on the bench, come in with like 6 minutes left in the first quarter, 6 minutes left in the third quarter, and then play the entire rest of the half. Our rotations suck so bad right now.
Yeah, it's I try and deductively figure out kind of what's the purpose of lineups and why it's going there. And I'm coming up blank. The rotations and the pairings are really frustrating. I was interested to see that Keontae came in without Clarkson for the first rotation, right? And I thought, is this something we're going to see? And then one possession later, Clarkson.
I did the same thing at the game. Keontae goes to stand up and sub in. I turned to my buddy. I said, that's new. Keontae doesn't normally sub in by himself. He gets on the court, literally up and down once. Here comes Clarkson. And it was like, okay.
We've seen enough.
Like, what was the point? Just, I don't know. It's just weird to me. We started this game really rough defensively. Like the entire first quarter, the first quarter felt like it lasted 6 hours. Because we just dude, it was just, we were dying in the first quarter of this game, whether bench unit or not defensively. But a big part of that, once again, is the lineups that we're running.
We allowed Tyrese Maxey to go off. I thought that Tobias Harris had a heck of a game. He looked solid.
He made a lot of super tough shots.
Yeah, he was the one that was making the tough shots. I mean, Tyrese Maxey, obviously, I'm getting to the hole, but everybody else was kind of hitting open threes. Tobias Harris looked like a legit veteran presence out there that made the tough shots when they needed it, end of the clock. Heck of a game by him. And obviously they were without Embiid. When we played him in Philadelphia, Tobias Harris was also out. Maybe that's what we needed again. I don't know. We are back down now to 10th place. We switched places with the Lakers because the Lakers won at Boston tonight.
Without LeBron and AD.
That's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So Austin Reeves going crazy. There's a lot of kind of trade rumors swirling. We're in February now.
We got a week.
1 week till the trade deadline.
Less than a week.
Yeah, less than a week now. We did see a little mini trade today with Steven Adams.
Yeah. Which, first of all, I told my dad this already. You guys are a bunch of assholes. I send you guys a text in our group chat like, yo, Steven Adams traded to the Rockets. Kind of think weird trade, right? Giving you guys an update. My dad, cool. That's trade. It's just like, screw both of you guys.
I sent you a quote from one of the Memphis fans. Did you hear it? I have to read it, dude. Hang on.
But it was just like,
I'm going to defend
screw both you guys.
My assholeness. Hang on, dude. What the hell? Yeah.
So trying to give updates here.
He did. Mike did say cool. And I quoted, I was working. I was busting my can.
I was also working in my office doing nothing, watching YouTube.
Work term that you use. Yeah, so I put, as one of the Grizzlies fan points out, this is one of the trades of all time. I thought that was freaking hilarious, dude.
It was, but just on top of him saying cool. It was just like, I seriously got both those texts at the same time, and I was just like, F you guys, man. And just put my phone back down, like, I'm going back to YouTube.
I appreciate the updates. Apparently, I need to reply with more enthusiasm. But this is obviously a move. We talk about the moves that happen. You can kind of read into it what the front office is thinking. So obviously Victor Oladipo going over to Memphis, that's an expiring contract this year. They're just looking for, a contract they don't have to renew. So it gives them more space. They're obviously tanking.
And I really don't think Steven Adams wanted to be really there.
There's stories that he tried to get the partying team to try and chill out a little bit.
Yes.
And was properly ignored, I guess. But Memphis, they're tanking. They obviously are going to get a high draft pick.
Yep.
In this draft, clearing some cap space to be able to sign some people, and you can tell in their front office's mind they're going to hit the ground running next year and be ready to compete.
Right.
That's what they think. And they've got some nice pieces. So once again, we talk about the Jazz. We'll be able to tell what the front office thinks by the moves that will be done or will not be done. So that's kind of something we'll report here within the next 6 days.
Right. Well, and it's funny. Is we go and play the Knicks, and the speculation has been maybe Clarkson to the Knicks, right? Even a commenter mentioned during the Knicks game, that one of the Knicks broadcast guys said, like, man, I hope we're not interested in Clarkson because he had a really bad game against the Knicks. And it was like the next day, news comes out that Knicks are super interested in Jordan Clarkson and Kelly Olynyk. And it was just like, even like you guys in the comments, it was like, they are? What did he show them? Because it was a bad game. It was one of his worst games that game. So it was just kind of funny, the timing of it all. But the Knicks are very interested in him. Article came out on how Clarkson is seen as the best available volume shooter for trades. And then Kelly Olynyk is seen as one expiring contract, but to a veteran player who can come out and play smart and help the right team in the right situation. So the next week, probably see some stuff. I'm excited to see some stuff. I'm excited to see what direction we're really going.
Like you said, we'll be able to tell what they're thinking, what direction they really think that we are heading in. I mean, as far as a can get super hot off the bench scorer, Clarkson definitely fits that bill. And ever since the Knicks made the trade with Toronto,
they've been on fire.
They've been on fire, but they're lacking points off the bench ever since they lost Emmanuel quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, if they can pick that up, that makes sense for them. As a few of these teams are getting ready and gearing up to go into the playoffs and really make a run. And New York thinks they have that. So that'll be interesting. And they've got still a whole bunch of picks. And I wouldn't mind getting Quentin Grimes in here to see if that's something we can develop and
right
and go with, because I think he has a ton of talent.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Another interesting article I kind of talked to you about a little bit on the phone today that I found super interesting, and we preach a lot of defense, and so I wanted to kind of get to you guys as well. They talked about Agbaji. Actually, he was the focal point of the article, but just talked about our defense and talked about how Agbaji was a guy they felt like his shooting numbers are really bad right now, and he's still super young, and they're not concerned about his numbers because he's in a slump, and and Will Hardy said he has the hardest role on the team right now because his minutes are super inconsistent right now. He doesn't really touch the ball on offense at all, so he's not getting shots up. And so when you're in that kind of slump, usually, depending on your role on the team, it's easier to get out of the slump because you're getting enough work up, you're getting enough shots up. If you're taking one shot, maybe 2 shots a game, it's really hard to get out of a slump. So he talked about he's not concerned about that because of the role he's in, but he also talked about the reason they're not concerned about it is because going into the season, they felt like he was the guy that they could leave with some uncertainty throughout the beginning of the season and through the first half of the season as moves come in and happen because of his leadership and what he's shown as a team and as a player, that he's a guy that they believe can bounce back from that uncertainty and handle it.
Just by all accounts, a very mature young man, right?
Yes. Yeah, which he has shown immensely. And on top of that, they talked about his defense. And a big reason why he's still consistently getting minutes is because even with how bad he's shooting wise, his defense is really good. And they talked about a stat. It is like field goal differential, or I don't know the exact name of it. But essentially, if you are a negative in this stat, it means that what the number is, what your grade is what percentage players shoot when you're guarding them compared to the rest of the NBA. So players that are in the negative are seen as good defenders. Once you hit the negative, you are classified as a good defender. We have 4 on our team. That's it. Simone Fontecchio actually hits that. He's at a negative like 1.5. Which is solid for a role player, bench player who wasn't really supposed to be a lockdown defender. That's great. Agbaji is a negative 3.6, I believe is what it was, which is awesome, especially when you look at Walker Kessler, who's a negative 4.4, right around there. So he's not really that far behind Kessler, who is consistently talked about as one of the top rim protectors in the league, one of the and a future possible defensive player of the year. That is the level that Agbaji is showing at defensively.
I believe it.
And so all really good signs and really good things to show, and showing that we need one more defense on this team, which Taylor Hendricks, I believe, can be that.
I agree.
But I can't mention the stat and not mention the final guy on that. Chris Dunn, I know that's not going to be a surprise to you guys, is also in the negative. Keep in mind, Kessler is in the 4.4, 4.5 range. Chris Dunn is right about 9.5, negative 9.5. That dude makes players, on average, shoot about 10% worse field goal percentage than their regular percentage going through the games against other players and stuff like that. That is a psychotic number. That is an incredible number. And I guess it even reiterates your point of why is this dude not closing games, especially when he's having a good game?
Yeah, and you even heard the announcers, and it was nationally televised on TNT. You're right. You, not this guy. You talk several times about Chris Dunn, how elite defender, supreme defender, and basically as they were talking about him going along, even though Maxey was scoring like crazy in chunks of the game, still giving him his props. That third quarter was fantastic. The possession where he's guarding Maxey and shielding him so he doesn't even have a chance to get the ball for the first 15 seconds of the shot clock, and then goes around a couple of screens as Maxey's trying to gather. He reaches around, swipes it down, pops out. The ball comes out, and was it Paul Reed that got the ball?
Yeah.
That went up, and he jumps up and swats him away, and they ended up getting the shot clock violation on that one. That possession was awesome.
So it's funny you mentioned that possession. There's a moment in the game, Tyrese Maxey gets a foul call. And I'm sure on the screen, he just walked off. They probably didn't show much of what happened.
We saw a little bit of a conversation happening.
Yes, so he went to our bench, complaining. to our bench. Whatever. He points at Chris Dunn, basically saying, same foul that you did earlier, that play. Chris Dunn starts talking shit. Hell no. You went through, you swiped through, I swiped down at you. And you could tell Chris Dunn starts kind of talking shit back and forth, and Maxey just gets all pissed off and kind of walks off. And like Taylor Horton Tucker and the guys next to Chris Dunn are kind of chuckling and stuff like that. Because it was like Maxey goes over there like, that was the same thing you did to me. And Chris Dunn's like, no, it wasn't. Mine was clean.
Even worse than having to play against him, you don't want to go into his world of getting nose to nose and talking with him. That's even worse.
Really funny.
That's cool. That would have been cool to see, though. We got a little glimpse that there was some things saying back and forth.
It was funny, man. It was a funny moment. But yeah, overall, there was some good things from this game. You know, even Keontae had some good moments in this game, but he still really doesn't get the ball that much.
There were a chunk of times he was allowed to run the offense, and we made effortless plays. And
he made a ridiculous pass in the first half. I don't know the angle that you guys had. My angle, it looked freaking disgusting. The pick and roll bounce pass to Kessler, I believe it was Kessler. It was either him or John Collins. It was a freaking pocket just masterpiece and flair. I love my point guard with some flair.
Yeah.
And I just want to see more of him allowing to do that.
Grant Hill was one of the announcers on the game tonight. And
I noticed that.
He was
like directly in front of me.
He was very appreciative of the skill level on that pocket pass that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was cool to see. Grant Hill, who's I believe he's the general manager of USA Basketball, isn't he?
I'm not sure.
I think he got a position in with the national team.
That sounds right.
Let's go with that.
But yeah. Overall fun game. Pissed me off that we didn't go to Lauri Markkanen on the last play of the game. Our star, who's shooting efficiently, we use him as a decoy again. And that's super frustrating.
You know what's better than a decoy? Actually pass him the ball.
Just give him the ball.
Watch the 2 or 3 defenders come to him. Watch him get an assist for a wide open
shot. That one.
I like that.
That one was puzzling, especially because it's not like Clarkson was on fire. He was like 1 for 6 from 3, and Markkanen was having a dominant quarter.
On fire, yeah.
I get going to Clarkson because of his ability in those moments, right? And I get when he's having a good fourth quarter. Go by all means, go to him. It made no sense there. It did not make any sense.
This would have been one of the games where I definitely would have closed with Dunn and Sexton. Would have had Clarkson on the bench. If I can put out my wish list, I would like to do that now. Okay, we just I'll pass on that way. My wish list. I would like, after the trade deadline, to not have to go to these overly offensive lineups where we have to cover with a zone and where we have to kind of cover with gimmicky stuff to make up for deficiencies. That's all I wish. Is that crossing the line?
No, that seems reasonable.
Seems fair.
Seems reasonable.
I really like our versatility on the defensive side. And I would like to get that to become part of basically our spine, our core of our team that we get out there. I think that we have more actual high-level scoring ability that translates to the playoffs and translates to postseason better than kind of some of the offensive lineups that are running and trying to cover it. So that's my wish list getting through February 8th.
And the thing that we almost seem to forget over and over again is a big part of why we went on this big run of wins was because we were running defensive lineups. Our defense, as much as Will Hardy wants to say it was our offense going to our defense,
which doesn't make sense at all.
Our defense was lifting up our offense. Our defense was very good, which then translated to easy buckets on the offensive end. So
all of a sudden, our transition numbers went through the roof.
Yeah,
I can't figure that out.
I would agree with that. I'd agree.
So however it is we got to do it, if we move off some veterans and acquire future assets or players or even, you know, the weird thing right now is we're getting reports of Jazz being sellers, but also some reports of them being a buyer.
I think it depends on what becomes available.
Interesting spot to be in. You usually don't hear that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, my dad, even I don't know if he mentioned to you, he kind of floated out the possibility of what if they go back to, you know, they discussed earlier in the season, a Levine trade, but and you run Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine as the 1-2 next to each other. That's intriguing, and it puts two legit stars on the team and allows Keontae George to basically run our bench unit as our sixth man. That trade would require, I believe, a 3-team trade and Sexton and Clarkson both being a part of the trade for that to happen. And then you essentially, your guard lineup is Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine with Agbaji and Keontae as your backups, and Agbaji or Keontae gets to really grow and flourish as a legit primary ball handler, creator, scorer off the bench.
You can see.
I'd be intrigued with it.
Positives to that for sure.
I'd be intrigued with it.
That's a big salary to pick up. Zach LaVine, he's been kind of drugged through the mud there in Chicago, and he's a much better player than what he's showing this year. He's not the psycho freak athlete that he once was. He's just a freak athlete.
Yeah,
but I mean, his skill set is huge on the offensive side, and I fully believe that wherever he goes, whatever he does, he'll rebound and show that he's a better player than what he was.
I'd be intrigued. I'd be intrigued with a trade like that. I'd be intrigued with legit trading our veterans for, like you said, future assets and just playing our young guys. I'm kind of open to any of those options right now. I do want to see some moves and really get a clear direction of this team and start to put together some legit lineups of no more question marks on some of these players. And so whatever happens this weekend could be a time that happens, not the actual trade deadline, but this weekend, because we have a big gap. We don't play again until, I believe, Monday.
Is it?
So we have a 3-day gap. So it could be a timing thing that now works better than trade deadline, just because the longer gap, or they wait till the last second.
Yeah, it could be we get to February 8th and nothing's happened yet.
Yeah, I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised either way if we wait till literally the last minute.
That's true.
But overall, maybe we'll have some big news to talk about over the weekend, and I'm sure you're on the same boat as me. If there is a trade, I plan on hopping on and doing a video and kind of breaking down what that means. And so if there's a trade, keep an eye out. We'll be dropping a video on it. If not, Monday. Thanks, guys.